667 DVDs may not seem like a lot to a lot of hardcore collectors out there, but for me, as well as the people that know me, they think I severely have a problem. But it's mine to call my own, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Hey everyone, Joe here from the Collection Compass, and welcome to my DVD collection as of February of 2022. So anyway, if we're going to start anywhere properly now, we're going to start with the holy grail of my DVD collection right now. It is the MCU complete collection so far as of January 2022. Recording this is going live February 2022. So if you're unaware, the Eternals DVD is not here yet. The No Way Home DVD is not here yet. Hopefully, if Disney Plus decides to get their asses off their high horse and finally release the damn Disney Plus shows on DVD too, maybe someday. But right now, it is the core movies. And as a cool thing about my DVDs collection wall, this is made by, I believe I want to say, it's from Best Buy. I forgot the name of the company. I'll put it right here if you want to go buy them up. They're really good because honestly, one DVD shelf cubby, as I like to label it, fits perfectly up to Endgame. The main Infinity Saga goes into one cubby. That honestly is one of the coolest things I never planned for. I really didn't. And honestly, looking back on it, it looks so damn perfect. I love it. It is by far the coolest thing. I could just binge them whenever I want. Of course, obviously I have Disney Plus as well, but this is pretty damn cool. And then Far From Home, which it is technically part of the Infinity Saga. I consider it the epilogue of the Infinity Saga, so it doesn't really matter there. Then you have Black Widow, then you have Shang-Chi, and then you go into the other MCU movies. The second franchise that I love so much is the Spider-Man movies. Well, the original ones, the amazing ones, Venom, Into the Spider-Verse, Venom Let There Be Carnage, which I have yet to watch. I have it. I've been waiting for the right time to go see it. It is not that time yet. Spider-Man 2, if many people know, is now my second favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. Obviously, No Way Home's #1 right now. But this is the original release. This was sadly a reprint because my sister, well, we had a VHS tape before, but sadly my sister destroyed it. So we had to get it very late. Spider-Man 3, love the DVD as well. The Amazing series, I actually will give Amazing Spider-Man 2 enough credit because this one is the very first time I've ever seen a company actually create an entire new poster for the DVD release, which I'm like, cool. Because mostly, even back then to now, they'll just reuse the theatrical poster for the main theater releases, for the main DVD releases. And it's okay, it's fine. I like the creativity, I really did. Over here we have the Fox X-Men series, now completed. Again, it feels weird to say, but it's done. It's never coming back. So we have everything from X-Men all the way to the New Mutants, which it's already how the scale went so up, down, middle, down, bottom, garbage. Okay. Of all this, the X-Men series was one of those, I got into it late. I was a Spidey kid growing up, so the X-Men movies never really enticed me to go and, see them in theaters, to be honest with you. Or at least then later on, buy them on DVD. I'll give credit, like Last Stand, saw my karate class, amazing. First Class, such an amazing movie, even as a kid. There was a funny story related to it on our old podcast series. You want to go check that out. Days of Future Past, really, it was kind of like the Infinity War Endgame of, the times before that movie came out, because just seeing two generations of X-Men film casts together was kind of just like a tease of what was to come for future Marvel movies in general. So honestly, that was something else. That was something special. Deadpool being the first mainstream R-rated film to be a big-ass hit. Then you have the critical success that was Logan, and then you just have the bottom of the garbage that wrapped up this series. Oh man, I can't wait till Marvel Studios reboots it and does their own take on it and does the proper thing. Here we have the rest of the Marvel-verse. So my plan is I'm going to collect everything after Blade, so anything that came after Blade 1, that's what I'm collecting. So the Punisher movies, the other Ghost Rider movie, the Elektra movie, those will be gotten into this section of the collection at some point. That's the goal. Right now I have the 2 original Fantastic Four movies from 05 and 07, which I'll give it credit. Like, they were not bad films. They were not the best, but they weren't bad. Ghost Rider, we won't talk about that. Hulk 1 actually did scare me as a kid, and just for now, I just put an empty Spider-Man Homecoming Funko Pop case because, well, Now, next we have the DCEU and then the DC film section. Ironically, it's only one section right now because that's as many movies as there are against tomorrow. And also, it's again, like, so of course, obviously, you have the shared, well, is it classified still as a shared universe? Because, like, up until this point, it's like, yeah, it's a shared universe, then this kind of diverges where Warner Bros. Says it's canon, and then director said, okay, it's canon, but only to this version of the movie, and then it's like, okay, then it's gonna get confusing, and hopefully the Flash movie will make things easier for my little brain to handle. But no matter what your opinions are of, you know, the how the universe started, how it's going right now, how it's gonna be, I think we could all admit that the cast and crew that made these movies still had a very hopefully decent amount of time making it. Except for this one. Well, the reshoot portion. Also, as a stigma, I do not know what happened to this. I did not do this out of spite. Something happened and this cracked, so, which is hilarious. And then also the real version is right here. The real version. So, yellow. Then obviously, I think the next big DC film franchise they have is just the standalone Batman movie. So you have all four of the original 80s to 90s Batman movies with Michael Keaton as a role, then Val Kilmer, then sadly George Clooney. Then you have the Nolan trilogy, and sad to say, this is another one of those, you know, I was a kid and I was not giving a damn. So this is the Dark Knight DVD, which, as you can see, has the Joker. And it has a very different version of the back where it's mostly crossed out, it's mostly different, and that's because the sleeve that came with it was supposed to have the real version of it, and this was like, oh, what if the Joker made this DVD? And that was sort of the thing they did, and I was like, oh, that's a cool thing to do, but sad to say, it just I lost it at some point, and that sucks, but it tends to happen. And lastly, we have Joker, which is like the last Batman movie, I guess, that came out. Then of course, obviously, the Batman will come out at some point this year, and I'm excited for that. Then we have Superman. Yes, very piss-poor Superman collection right now. It's just Superman the movie, the first one. I think I just found this for $5 somewhere, and Superman Returns. This was the original launch copy from '06, because I did honestly enjoy that one, and I was very happy to see Brandon Routh come back to do that part again in Crisis on Infinite Earths a couple years ago. So that was cool and neat. And right here is just, I just threw this on here because it just I didn't have a section for that. This is my very first Steelbook ever. Special shout out to George for getting me this. I've always been interested in Steelbooks for such a long time. I just never really had the ignition to go and shoot the fire. There goes my rubber duckies. To go and purchase one. And also I was like really, again, I was so new because like I just been a DVD collector for so long that it was just fairly simple for me to like just get the DVD and be done with it. I have it forever. That was never the case with that one. So thank you, shout out to George. There will be more Steelbooks in this collection eventually, but not anytime soon because they're hella expensive. And then we have the individual DC movies. We have Catwoman, we have Constantine, we have Green Lantern, and ironically, this Green Lantern is so damaged that the sleeve, the plastic sleeve is broken, which I'm like, I don't care. Now, of course, obviously I talked about before the Harry Potter series. We have the Fantastic Beasts series. This is kind of like the fantasy novels adaptation. Then you get the Lord of the Rings, the Middle-earth series with The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. And again, I'm very blasphemy to say this, that the Hobbit films for me they were the first ones I saw. And I was like, okay, I like the Hobbit ones, but I think I'm too new. I'm too modern. Where if I watch a movie like Pulp Fiction or let's see, Kill Bill, for example, I'm just mentioning two Tarantino movies on the top of my belt. I would be honest to admit that, yeah, I mean, those are great movies, but I don't know why. It just, there's no old-timey brain in me for some reason. The Twilight movies, I've said this before on many different shows. I'll say this one more time. So, Twilight, how I got into it. Mother signed up for a DVD service, a subscription service where they send you a new DVD every month. For some reason, I got two Twilight movies back to back. Then, eventually, I got the other two somehow, and then I was like, you know what, I have 4 out of the 5. I might as well just get the last one just to say I have all 5. Ironically, I have not seen the first movie or the last movie. I've only seen New Moon, because that was just, I think, the hypest. Eclipse was just a curiosity's sake, and Breaking Dawn Part 1, because, I don't know, after Deadly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2, it was like, let's recreate that magic again. And spoilers, it did not turn out that way. So moving on, we have the continuation of the book adaptations, which I'm translating from novel fantasy adaptations to now just book adaptations. We have The Hunger Games, which I think I said this before somewhere elsewhere, but Mockingjay Part 2. I know it was the finale to the series, but I watched that first, and then I went backwards, which I'm pretty sure it is the most BS way to watch that. And also, for some reason, I had sleeves for the first and the last movie, not the middle, so that was kind of weird. The Chronicles and Audio movies, if anyone remembers though. I'm still very sad that they're not going to end up finishing off the, I mean, it's been almost a decade, so yeah, by this point they're just going to reboot it probably with a show or at some point whatsoever. Same with Percy Jackson. I honestly am one of the only few people that actually like the Percy Jackson movies, as, again, I don't read that often. I mostly watch the movie and that's it. Harry Potter's probably the only exception to the rule, but with Percy Jackson, I actually thought the cast was alright. I thought they were doing the best they could with what was available. And yeah, I know Disney Plus is making a show. Well, that's the weird thing. Like, they say, like, oh, it's happening. A Percy Jackson show is on the way, but Disney never confirmed. It's weird. It's one of those weird, like, it's in the works. It's one of those publicized in the works things, but it's never been freaking greenlit. So hopefully someday we will get to see that show. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Then we have the Detective Pikachu, Sonic the Hedgehog, which I know is not part of a video game cinematic universe, but it should be. It should be by this point. The original It. I don't have the remakes because I have not seen them and they're freaking scary as hell, so YOLO on that. Ready Player One, I remember seeing that movie with a few friends of mine. The Great Gatsby, starring the one and the only, well, Tobey Maguire isn't on the cover, but again, he's in the movie. I merely watched that movie because of him, and as well as, you know, English AP class made me do it, so. The Shawshank Redemption is honestly one of the only films that I will personally admit that I was honestly a real film buff over. Like, this was such a well done movie. And I know, again, it's a book adaptation, so the book is probably the superior version, but like, I really loved The Shawshank Redemption. I really did. I honestly think that has the basis to be a show. I have a pitch for it. It's something I've been thinking of for a long ass time, and of course, I think George is the only one who heard about it to death by this point. So someday, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Just the first two movies. I thought I had Dog Days, which I didn't. I am very sadly willing to admit that I do have to get the last movie. The freaking was it Dog Days? No, the long haul. The pseudo remake movie, and thankfully now Disney Plus is doing animated adaptations of all of them, which I'm like, thank you. That was the superior way to do it, and so they're going to do it. And last but not least, Dune. This is more recent. I know my co-host, It's Just George, has been very, very, very loving of the Dune movie. He's been very particular in how he's going to collect them. At the end of the day, he just told me he's just planning on getting them all once they're, like, when the whole film series is done in, like, the way far out future. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just get the DVDs because that's just how I am. Next up, we have just the James Bond section. Yeah, it's very incomplete, let's just say. I have Dr. No. I have The World Doesn't Die With You, because my dad and I were planning on buying all the James Bond movies on DVD, which were conveniently the re-release ones for the 50th anniversary. This style one was actually only $5 each, and that was the plan, and it kind of fell through, and then so there's a big chunk of it. And these two actually are not bought by me. These were actually my parents, so I actually inherited them. This was another re-release style, the gold version, lead up to probably the rebooted series. Then we have the original print, which of course it is heavily damaged, as my mother was the one who owned these movies, so she did not take the best care of them, but I am planning on keeping these for my collection just because they're memories. I do have all the Daniel Craig movies, I forgot, Casino Royale, Quantum Solace, Skyfall, Spectrum, and the recent No Time to Die. I don't have Casino Royale here because my father's borrowing it right now, and he was very pushy on not giving it back till he's done with it, so I was like, okay, fine. Next up, we have Mission Impossible, all 6 movies. I still remember I told my dad, just like as a joke, like I would like to see the Mission Impossible films someday in the future. And he did. He got me the first 3, obviously. This was the re-release leading up to Ghost Protocol, so I love this style of things. Obviously, the next versions just did their own thing, which I'm like perfectly fine, and I know this is kind of like another issue because, like I mentioned with the Steelbooks, it is now, I'm in a new world and I'm being very particular when it comes to collecting old franchises. I like the sense of there is some sort of unification to this, and sad to say, Mission Impossible is not one of them, so that's That's the reality of things. And here's another one of those weird, my mother bought this, A Quiet Place on Blu-ray. I don't know why. She knows for a fact I buy DVDs, and this is just like, this is actually why George told me, like, why don't I start collecting Blu-rays? Well, like, look at this. Look, it's not perfect. It's just not perfect at all. Next up, we have the Men in Black series, which I'm actually surprised they've made a spin-off. And sadly, there's no sequel to the spin-off because that movie bombed. I don't really have much to say about Men in Black. I watched Men in Black 3 with one of my best friends growing up, and then International. I was actually halfway through the movie with an old friend of mine, which she doesn't really classify as a friend anymore, to be honest with you. And we just ended up not finishing it, and I know that a lot of people didn't like International because it just tried to be Ragnarok, but it wasn't Ragnarok. It was just a Ragnarok imitation. And then we have, well, the future will be the Child's Play movies and the eventual Chucky show, TV show when it comes on DVD eventually. I have the first one. This is the re-release 20th or 30th anniversary DVD. It was $5 online, so I'm like, I bought it. I got Cult of Chucky, which was the last one. I know I had Curse of Chucky at some point, but I don't have it right now. And I had, no, actually that's it. I did have all the Child's Play movies, like the illegal boot copy versions of it, but sad to say, they did not survive the trek. / I don't know how I would legally explain that. So, next up we have Star Wars, the film series, and ironically, one of my best friends in the world, when I was making this DVD slot, I was like, yeah, Star Wars is done, we're not getting any more films for a very, very long time, pandemic aside, and I was wondering what to do with this giant-ass big space, and if many of you people know, I also have a giant Funko Pop collection. The child stood out like a sore thumb in my wall because, well, it doesn't look like a regular Funko Pop, and she was like, why don't you just slide it in there? Like, I highly doubt it's going to work, and it fits just perfectly. Now, Star Wars isn't set for another film release for at least another 3 years, so this is probably what it's going to look like for the rest of, well, probably the 2020s, to be honest with you. Yep, the pandemic doesn't change. Next up, we have the movie series section. First, we have Fast and the Furious, or the Fast and Furious now, you want to call it. All the movies. Now, I could just easily slide it over, but then I'm filming this, I realized I should have put F9 after Fate and put Hobbs and Shaw independently, but I'm going by release order right now because there's only one spin-off. Again, this is one of those things where they did a huge re-release cycle before Fury 7, so you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the bottom. 6 does have this. This is just the original sleeve release, and 6 is under there. 7 kind of has it, but it doesn't have the dash marks in it. Again, they're all covered by the sleeves, which I'm very happy they kept consistently Fast 6 onwards. I'm not sure if the original 1 through 5 had that. And then it came out like, nope, we forgot about that entire numbering system. Hobbs and Shaw, forget about it, and same with 9. And 9 just basically like, yeah, we don't have any more hilarious puns or just any numbering, so we're just call them F9, F10, F11, just keep going. I'm like, you damn sons of beach. Next up we have Transformers, and I apologize because, so the cool thing about the Transformers DVD sets, which honestly is one of the only things, the good things I could say about this film franchise, is that the first 2 movies did this very unique text coloring, but like on camera you cannot see the Transformer. This is literally only available to the naked eye, unless I have like some really nice lighting, which I don't, because it's just George took my lighting equipment to go work on his video, so thank you, George. So, and this is also the most inconsistent set as well, because you have the first 2 movies, then my dad bought me the Dark of the Moon Blu-ray instead of the DVD, even though we have been buying DVDs all my life, but you know, what could you do? What can you do? Then we have Age of Extinction, The Last Night, which was a piece of garbage, and then Bumblebee, which is the saving grace, and hopefully the next Transformer movie that's coming out next year will be similar to Bumblebee in terms of quality. That it's good. I just want a good Transformers film series, damn it. Next we have Pirates of the Caribbean. I bought this movie first. I bought this at a damn supermarket. I'm being honest with you. I went to a Key Food. They had a very, very, very small DVD section for some reason. They had this. This was the 2-disc, sorry about that, limited edition set, which I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. It has so much content back in that second disc, which was like the old days of like, Blu-ray was still kind of new. They were still figuring out what they really want to do with that. So they did these special collector's editions, special limited editions, where you pay a little bit more money and you get like an even better version. And same thing with this, they did 2 and 3, and then they skipped it with 4. Actually, I told George this many, many times, apologies for the camera moving, is that this is actually a Blu-ray. This is the first time, I think the only time that they decided to do, yeah, we're going to combine the DVD box and a Blu-ray release together. I'm like, if they can only do that, I would have no problem buying Blu-ray, but they never did it yet, because the next movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, on Dead Man Tell No Tale, they literally said, nope, we're just going back to just DVDs. which that sucks. Next we have the Jurassic Park series, Jurassic World, the Jurassic series. We have the original trilogy. Then we have Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Next we have Scooby-Doo, the film series. Again, Scooby-Doo, such a unique part of it. Also, I had no idea that... Well... okay, take two. So, Scooby-Doo 1 and 2 was written by James Gunn, which everyone knows now. Guardians director, Suicide Squad director, Peacemaker creator, which I'm like, that is so freaking cool that he got to write these movies. And honestly, I did really like the original Scooby-Doo movies. The ones they made for Cartoon Network was kind of like... They were alright. They were just trying to be, like, you know, made for TV movies. They actually did a pretty decent jump at the VFX for Scooby, so I'll give them credit for that. And, I don't know, they did say at some point that it was canon to the film series. This was a prequel, but then once Robbie and Mel decided not to go blonde, it was like, yeah, it's not canon. It really isn't. Actually, funny story about this one, and this is going to probably fall over. I don't know what's wrong with this section. I really don't know. It's falling over. I'm trying to pull this out. It will not. There we go. So with this one, funny story about this. So this was around the time I was becoming a teenager and my dad was kind of being a little bit more tighter with money. It's like, yeah, I keep spending all this money on you for DVDs. Like, is there really any sort of value here? And I was like, well, you know what, Dad? You got a point. And then I had my sister go next to him and it's like, can I get this one? Even though this was the one I wanted. And my dad was like, fine. And so he thought this was my sister's copy, but it was really for me. So that's how I tricked my dad. And I'm not going to put this back because this thing's about to fall over. Then we have the Karate Kid movies and the Cobra Kai. This is very of a weirder thing for me to say because I watched Karate Kid, I want to say, one time before the eventual reboot came out. And then I saw the reboot with Jackie Chan, J.D. Smith. I still remember that it was first year of my parents' divorce. So my mom took me to see a lot of movies in theaters, and you know, she would buy me all the food that I want, popcorn and chicken tenders and French fries included. I still remember going to see the Karate Kid in theaters with her, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I love Jackie Chan and everything he does, so I was like not surprised. And then eventually down the line, they brought back with Cobra Kai. And I love Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is like, I think, my number 7 show of all time right now. It's really damn good. Every season gets better and better. So I finally decided I'm going to get the DVDs. After I missed season 1 and season 2, I saw season 3. I'm like, I'm going to buy it. So I'm still missing 3. I'm missing next Karate Kid. I'm missing Cobra Kai season 1 and season 2 together. So it's not too bad of a miss, but I'm like, you know what? I'll get there someday. Now, I'm going to go try and make this semi-fixable because, you know, I don't want it to collapse again. Now, before I continue onwards, just take a look at my very tiny section of the DVD wall that is mostly Pokemon Pops, because here's the thing. When I bought it, it was by far the most perfect, well, the most near perfect DVD shelf I could get, as well as the most affordable one out there. So I was like, what am I going to do with this? Well, let's put the Pokemon Pops in there. I have all of them currently right now, and I cannot wait to get even more to come and sadly run out of space eventually. Alright, so next up we have the movie series section, I guess you want to call it. It's mostly just franchises, or at least stuff that have sequels. And we're going to start off with TMNT. I do plan on getting them all. I know George has been very much hounding me to finish the rest, but at least I do have the full Jumanji series, which does include Zatora, so, and also the Rock Jumanji movies, which are pretty fun. High School Musical, the full trilogy, of course. Do not have Sharpade's Fabulous Adventure, probably never will. If I ever do, that means something's clearly wrong with my life. The Rush Hour trilogy, which, another sentimental part of me and my dad's history growing up. He loved these movies when they first came out, the first two, and then when the third one came out, which, ironically, I am connected to an actor from one of the Rush Hour movies. Not a big role, but something sizable. Over here we're transitioning to kind of like the comedy section. We have Baby Driver, which I still haven't seen yet. I want to see this movie. I just haven't had time to. This is the end, and like one of those like very. It's just an awesome movie. It's really fun. It's like one of those like movies that you gotta watch with friends, and I haven't gotten to that yet. So then we have the Stuart Little trilogy. I love this series growing up as a kid. 2 specifically. 2004, such a great year for movie. It really was. The Santa Claus trilogy. I'm very happy to announce they are going to be doing a new TV show on Disney Plus, which I'm like, hell yes. So far, all the original cast members are returning. Very happy. Cats and Dogs 2. I don't want to talk about that yet. The Night in the Museum trilogy, there's a funny story with Battle of the Smithsonian. I think that was the one I almost went to the hospital for. Not relating to the movie, but the day I was going to go see the movie, something happened to me, so that's a story for another time. The Expendables trilogy, very happy they're continuing with a spin-off film. The Hangover trilogy, so many fond memories there. The Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy, haven't found Dawn or War yet on the original copy because I got into that series fairly late. Home Alone, which I've always had this DVD for a long time, and I finally watched it last Christmas, and I was like, this was a funny movie. I should see the sequel, but maybe next Christmas. Legend of Zorro, one of the first times, like, my parents actually dragged me to the theater for that because they couldn't find a babysitter for me, so they're like, you know what, close your eyes, here's some popcorn, enjoy yourself. I haven't seen Legend of Zorro since the first time I seen it in theaters in 2005, I want to say, so it's been a while. I know this is the second movie in the series, so have to get to that someday. Anchorman. This first movie was kind of dated, but I still liked it. I haven't seen the second one yet. Agent Cody Banks 2. I got that at a CVS, of all places, because CVS did sell DVDs back then. The Mamma Mia DVDs, that's my mother's personal hallmark, and I got her the second one for her birthday. The Zombieland duology, the Sherlock Holmes duology, please make Sherlock Holmes 3, Warner Brothers, the Titans duology, the Kick-Ass duology, the Grown Ups duology, and 21-22 Jump Street, which ironically I'm about to go watch 21 Jump Street again in a bit after I'm done filming this entire collection video. Continuing the duology, we have the Ted duology, the Creed 1 and Creed 2, and I can't wait, they're going to make Creed 3 I think this year. Garfield, I don't know where the second Garfield movie is at. My sister sometimes takes DVDs, so I'm very happy, but well, I'm very dishappy to not show Garfield. Also, this is one of the examples of do not eat food when you have DVDs. It is very much covered in grease. I'm going to give it a smell test. I'm going to give it a smell. Does it still smell like Chinese chicken after, I want to say, 17 years. Nope, not anymore, but the lingering sense is on there. And ginger is very strong and it will destroy DVDs. One of the first indie DVDs, I guess, so it's not an official like thing, but it's part of the comedy section. The AVGN movie, which I gotta say, it is the longest time I've waited to see a film. I think I waited like 7 years to see that movie. I think I finally saw it last year after all this time. And it was pretty good. It was well worth the wait. The Halloween duology, which will, I don't have the 78 on DVD. I will get that eventually, and then Ends comes out. Jaws. I mean, again, this was another one of those like rare gems that my parents bought well before they had me. This is the original, the first DVD printing, the collector's edition, which I'm like, that's cool. Like, this is the cool stuff I love to inherit from my folks. Let's see, The Last Airbender. We don't need to talk about that. This is just mainly just regular one-off movie. Due date, underrated movie. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, another Edgar Wright movie. I do have plans to combine the Edgar Wright DVDs someday when I do have more of his series. It's just been hard to find it. The Other Guys, oh my god, I love this movie. I really do. This came out in 2010. I was still... 2010 was like an underrated time for movies, plus I was a very unpopular kid in middle school, so movies are all I had. School Rock, I bought that at a garage sale. Valentine's Day, this movie, I promised myself I would never see this movie until I found the one. So, I still haven't found her yet, but, you know, one day I will. Catch Me If You Can. This is such a, like, this is one of those, like, smaller movies that, like, I just like. And I know there's a lot of other movies out there that mostly George have been recommending to me. It's like, I know I'll probably love it. It's just... you have to catch me in the right mood on that one. But the Holy Grail, the best non-franchise movie to my collection, Chef. My God, I love Chef so much. It's just... it's so perfect. And at first, I was like very much against the movie. Like, it's an indie film from the freaking guy who made Iron Man. I will never see this movie. And I loved it so much. I really did. E.T. Like, this set right here, I inadvertently created like, it's just a fond of special memories. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. I remember... the only reason I bought this because I went to Universal Studios Florida. I went on the E.T. ride, and I was just so enthralled by the ride and the lore of it that I told my dad, like, I want to get the DVD. I want to see this movie. And he was like, yeah, we'll buy it when we get home. We went to the gift shop, and they had it, and I'm like, it's right here. And he's like, fine. And we had that mini DV player that you can take on travel. Like, it's very compact. I think I still have it. I'm going to show it on camera someday in the future because it's a gem. And I played it on there, and then eventually when I came back home, I saw it again on the big screen. Oh my god, Ray. That was such a great film. What a film it was. I mean, first of all, Jamie Foxx, shout out to him. I think this is his best role yet, and I've only seen Jamie Foxx in a handful of projects. I can always enjoy him in films, and my can fell down. Wolf of Wall Street, very long movie. It was one of those. It was a lazy Saturday. I had no hangout plans, and I was like, you know what? I'll finally get to it. It was really good, really worth it. Then we have the How to Train Your Dragon saga. Yeah, this is nearly every canon piece of Dragon's media. I'm missing a couple. So we have the original film, and the cool thing about this is that this is what Dreamworks did back in the day. I'm going to see if I can do it with a one-handed thing. So give me a second if I can assemble that. So they had this interconnected double pack. So if you bought the double pack, it created this very cool feature, and you get a brand new direct DVD special. I think I eventually saw it on YouTube before I ended up buying the DVD, because I think it was like, I think around $5 more, and this was around the time where my folks were just starting to like get a little bit old of them buying DVDs. So yeah. Dragons, the Cartoon Network run on both DVDs. Then you have Race to the Edge, the Netflix show, and they briefly were on Target for a little bit. I had to buy the last one online because it was an online exclusive for some reason. So the only ones I am missing right now is the How to Train Your Dragon 2 bonus DVD set, and then a Book of Dragons Christmas special. So they're the only two left, and I don't have them all. They'll be done. Kung Fu Panda is almost the same thing. I have the first movie. And again, another one of those cool things that they did with the like, this is like the one thing that DreamWorks did. It was so cool, but times have changed. It's too much money for them to do, but look at that. Like, obviously it's like, it's connected only by the borders, but I'm like, that's so cool. That's really cool. Someday I'll have them all. Someday, but the problem is when you get to the special DVD sections. Well, the DreamWorks bonus pack, it is so hard to find them separately, and normally they're really high priced, so it's very hard. And I'm nearly done with the Dragons one, so I'm just gonna pull the trigger on the last two whenever I do find them. But anyway, over here we have the Pixar collection. It is nearly done. Is it nearly done? Nearly done. I think I'm only missing. No, I think I have everything, or I'm pretty sure I have everything. 20. No, I'm missing something. I'm missing the Good Dinosaur and Toy Story: A Time I Forgot. I don't have those two yet. Someday I will. But basically, it's very much a consistent run, and I think most of them are the launch lineup. I still have not yet seen A Bug's Life for the life of me. Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2 are the 10th anniversary edition, and for some reason, the way they did this, I thought it was like Toy Story 10 for some reason. That was so weird. And then Toy Story 2 didn't have that. It was just the repackaged edition. It had nothing to do with the third movie. It was just mostly, yeah, it was 10 years. It was time to, like, you know, make some more money on the printing, and it was cool to have. I want to say, yeah, so besides those two movies, everything else has been original printings. The one that I definitely say I rewatched the most, and I definitely do need a new disc of, is Ratatouille. Like, this disc is so corrupt, I can't even go past the main menu. Like, it is so bad that not even, like, because normally when you have a disc scratch, like, normally it's only affecting the movie, not the main menu. The main menu is so unresponsive, because I put that movie inside all the time, and I was a kid, and I just did not give a damn about the quality and the condition of my disc, so yeah. And also, yeah, but before I continue, I'm still very pissed off that Disney is not giving the more recent Disney Pixar movies a theatrical run. I know with COVID and everything, it sucks, but the thing is that they're just putting them quickly, like, for free. I'm like, brah, like, Pixar has proven time and time again they can deliver a banger film. I love Soul. I really enjoyed Luca. I would have gladly paid the theatrical price or the $30 premium price on Disney Plus, but they just didn't give me that option. They just went in for free, and I'm bummed down that Turning Red isn't going to do the same thing. I'm scared Lightyear is going to be the same thing. I'm like, dude, Pixar deserves better. They really do. I mean, if you're going to put Encanto for $30 premium, you should at least give it to Luca. I mean, come on. Then we have the other Disney movies in their catalog. Shoutouts I have to give is Meet the Robinsons. Like, no one gives this movie enough credit. It doesn't. I'm very much baffled by it. And I'm aware the movie did not do so well at the box office. It was one of the first Disney films to be promoted as it's a 3D experience, and I never got to see it in 3D because 3D didn't exist in my theater until I want to say 2010. But I'm just saying, you know, I would hope people enjoy it more. it's on Disney Plus, so you can go watch it then. Here we have, this is one of the first times I prefer the direct-to-DVD sequel in terms of Kronk's New Groove than Emperor's New Groove. Like, that's a first. Normally, it's like the direct-to-DVD sequel sucks and the original is like clearly superior. But nah, man, Kronk's New Groove is where it's at. That's where it's at. Yeah, so here's the rest, and then we get to the rest of the Dreamworks section. Shrek is, I think, is done? Is Shrek done? I want to say Shrek is done. Oh yeah, they did release that. Oh no, I do have the Halloween special. Oh, I'm just missing the Puss in Boots special. I'm gonna get a new Puss in Boots movie this year. Well, if COVID is delayed. So that's cool. Madagascar, all original printings, excluding the re-release. I did not like this new Dreamworks re-release. It's so generic and basic. Like that's just my opinion, but it's just so... Oh, funny story about this. I want to give a funny story before I move on to the last section of the movie section. We move on to TV. So this was one of those, like, again, this was like an ancient double pack. It doesn't even really connect, but I'm just showing them. So certain retailers had Shrek 3D in terms of, like, release. And I was, like, so confused. Like, what is Shrek 3D? It says an all-new adventure. And yeah, they include these 3D glasses. Do I still have them? I don't. But there used to be a couple pairs of 3D glasses. You put them on, it didn't work. It really didn't work. Like, this was a Universal Studios ride that they were clearly trying to make it some money because I think the recession hasn't happened yet. So it was just the fact of like getting it out there, and it was a pseudo-canon adventure in the Shrek canon, and they were just trying to make more money and trying to give a excuse to re-release the first movie. Funny thing, I did get the Shrek one originally on DVD, and I told my dad just give it away or just throw it away, and then years down the line I asked him, what about that Shrek DVD? And he was like, oh, I threw it out. I'm like, damn it. I wasted a little bit of money. And last but not least, we have the bottom of the barrel movies that, well, they're not crappy in quality. It's just, they don't deserve to be above. I will give a shout out to Open Season. Does anyone remember Open Season? Yeah, I remember those movies. Yeah, I remember the original one. And also, I just like the bear. That's the only reason why I wanted to see Open Season, plus the video game was kind of dope. The direct-to-DVD sequels are meh at best. I know there's been talks of an Open Season 5, which I'm like, yo, if they do an Open Season 5, I'm like, let's go, let's do that. Will it probably be shit? It'll probably be shit, but I'm like, these characters are so fun that like I would be glad to see them again at some point. Then we have the Ice Age films. Yeah, I know, Despicable Me. Yeah, Despicable Me 1 was pretty good. The rest is like meh at best. But also, I really hate, this was like the one time like I regretted buying something on Amazon. I hated this cover for Despicable Me 2. I hated it. I clearly ordered the original. They sent me the reprint, and I'm like, boo. Boo. Yeah, so Ice Age, I forgot about that. Yeah, so they did release a new Ice Age movie, a spin-off movie on Disney Plus, but it has none of the main cast back, so I'm like, boo. You're ruining the IP, Disney. And I know, I know. The Lego movie, I don't know what happened to my first Lego movie. I thought I had the Lego movie 1. I guess I didn't. Or did I? Because I know Lego Batman movie was... it's right here. This is one of those cases where my sister just puts back this movie in the wrong slot. But yeah, that looks so much better. Like, I knew I had the Lego movie somewhere. Like, that's how I watched it. And the rest, I do want to give a shout out to, like, Scooby-Doo and the Courage of the Cowardly Dog crossover movie. I haven't seen that yet. One of my friends wanted to see it with me. So we're still waiting on that to do that. The SpongeBob movie trilogy, which I'm like, the first SpongeBob movie slaps. But the sequels, I'm like, I never saw the sequel, so I'm like, I'm not even sure what that is. And then we have, like, the DC Marvel animated film section, if anyone remembers that. But yeah, that's basically it. It's a very much of a dry bones section here, because I was thinking about collecting them, but I'm like, meh. Alright, so now moving over to the TV side of things, we have let's just say the entire first row is DC TV, the DC multiverse of television shows, whatever you want to call it. Starting with the number one, Arrow, the show that truly kind of kickstarted the Arrowverse, similar to the MCU. The first section is the entirety of Earth Prime's Arrowverse. All 8 seasons. I have done a video on it. You can check it in the link in the description below or the box right here to go see that episode where I opened up, I took a look at all 8 DVDs of the show and kind of talk about it for a bit. That was on the Action X channel, so go check it out there. Then we have here The Flash. Now here's another nitpick, like, movies don't really have this issue. This is a kind of a problem with TV shows, more or less. So, as you can see, Arrow, uniform, all 8 seasons, standard DVD box size. and, you know, consistent logo patterns, you know, with shades of green on top of it. Then you get to the Flash. So Flash season 1 kind of mimics that. Season 2 gets fatter, season 3 gets fatter, and then seasons 4 all the way to 7 are all back to the original format, which I'm like, really? You couldn't just keep it the same? I mean, it's really not that hard to, like, keep it going, so I really don't know. And keep in mind, the first 5 seasons of the show are all the same amount of episodes, so yeah, I really cannot explain that much to you. Then we have Legends of Tomorrow, which kind of thankfully rectifies the problem. I have not gotten 5 and 6 yet because they're not on sale yet. So someday. I got a soft spot for Legends of Tomorrow, even though there's not that many people that like the earlier seasons. I actually did really like them, so I'll give it credit there. Here we have Supergirl, all 5 seasons. Season 6 is currently not out yet at the time of this recording. It will be out next month, so stay tuned for that. Black Lightning, complete first season. I'm still missing the other 3 of them because they're kind of pricey right now, so stay tuned on that front. Then we have Batwoman, first 2 seasons. Again, got a good sale on both of them. Stargirl, which we've done an episode-by-episode review series on over on Action X, is what's on the tube. Then we have like the remaining Arrowverse adjacent Titans, Doom Patrol. Then we have the Superman section, prequels. 9 seasons of Smallville. I'm still missing season number 10. That's the last one to get, and then the 2 seasons of Krypton. So hopefully if Smallville is perfect in season 10, I mean, technically I could stretch this out to fit another DVD, but I'm like, I hope I don't have to. I hope. But yeah, there you go. Alright, next up we have the Supernatural section. So I'm very happy that this is, I'm pretty sure, the biggest, longest series I have collected so far on TV, 15 seasons. I think the only one that comes close is Big Bang Theory, I believe. Pokemon's not even done yet, we'll get to that momentarily. But here they are. I was very happy when I finally got the last one, which I think it was season 15. Season 15 was the last one. I bought that full price at $40 because I'm like, yeah, I just want it to be over. And I'm usually that type of person where, like, if it's one more left, I'm like, I'm pulling the trigger. If it's in decent enough condition or new, I'm going to buy it. So this makes me very happy that something that I started not too long ago. 2016 was only like 6 years ago. And to have everything Supernatural here, and hopefully whatever they're going to do with the upcoming prequel show, maybe that'll get added on, who knows. It's still a big question mark. But for me, just having all of these is because Supernatural is not one of my favorite series of all time, but it was one of my fondest binges of all time. And then ironically, you segue into Gotham, where, yeah, George hates me for this section. He does, because if you don't know where my co-host on this channel, It's Just George, hates Gotham excruciatingly, and especially more after we did our special 200 episode of What's the Tube, where you can find that on youtube.com/actionx, where we reviewed the first episode, the 100th episode, and also we actually got into like a conversation about what he missed in between, and just hearing my half-ass explanation of like, oh, here's how these storylines go, here's how these characters ended up. It was by far hilarious, and I loved it. And Gotham is, again, one of those, like, it's the tradition, like, you got a fat season, and you got, like, I really want to know what happened here. Like, I want to know why it was an inconsistent mess. It bothers me, because, like, it could have just been, I don't know. And last but not least, for the DC TV section, we have Swamp Thing. Really good show. It was really good, and I was very bummed that it never got picked up for season 2. Maybe someday down the line we'll get something of that universe again, but we'll find out. And last, we have I just call this the CW section, where it's like, it's the other CW shows that don't really have segment. I don't have much. It's just the first 2 seasons of Riverdale and the first season of 100. Again, when it comes to these sort of things, and you'll hear this as we progress through this journey on this channel, I have a very specific style of collecting DVDs. One is, I'm cheap as hell. So if it's not at a decent price that I feel is comfortable enough, I'm not going to purchase it. So yes, I am missing 3 seasons of Riverdale and 6 seasons of 100, but I will get them someday. They will be on sale at some point. And when it is, I'll be there. Over here we have the Walking Dead series, which is a very inconsistent jumble mess, where you have the first 9 seasons on DVD, then you have Fear, skip a season, and you're missing World Beyond. Like, for me, obviously, like, this is probably a pretty decent collection of Walking Dead DVDs so far. I know I'm missing quite a few, but it's, again, back to what I was talking about with Riverdale and the 100, is they're available. I could pull the trigger, but it's all a matter of finding the best deal possible. So in this instant, and again, it's all about inconsistencies where it's like, you know, you got the first 3 seasons, no sleeve. Season 4, you get that special sleeve. Season 5, you skip the sleeve. Then season 6, all the way to 8, you get that sleeve. And then 9, you just forget about it. It becomes kind of generic. And sadly, because I bought this on Amazon, it came in a little crack. So I'm like, oof, I hate that. And then another weird thing I really don't understand is that Fear the Walking Dead had this special edition holographic sleeve with like the woman transforms from a human to a monster. I'm not sure you could pick that on camera. I'm trying my best to try. You could briefly see the face turning, which is a very cool touch. But the problem is that when you do that sort of, you know, special set, you expect that for the whole series. And let's be honest, like when it comes to like maybe the first season of a show, you're going to get all the stops because you're promoting the hell out of that season. And then you get to season 2 and beyond. It's like, well, you don't really put that same TLC anymore, and you sort of lose the touch. And when I got season 2 right here, it's just the generic release. And then I'm aware season 3 has a sleeve. I don't have it yet, but season 4 does not, and it just continues onward. So I got bummed about that. And World Beyond, apparently there is a DVD out there. I hate the show. I'm being honest there. It's one of the very few shows I will personally admit, next to Inhumans, that I just hated. I really didn't like it. I went for those 20 episodes feeling nothing at all. I just watched it for the sake of, there's a purpose to this. It served its purpose, and it's sad to say that for me personally, it's only going to refer to as, if you're a huge Walking Dead fan, you're watching everything, and hopefully we'll get to that end game moment down the line for the universe where you start to see those characters again, and then whatever plot devices they set up at the end of their show. Like, it's a job at the end of the day. I do get that, but it was just a travesty that for me personally, like, it was just a waste. Like, those 20 episodes did not do anything for me. They could have put those resources somewhere else. So, anywho, moving into a series that is by far one of the most consistent ones on television. You have Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Now, stupidly enough, when I was collecting the Breaking Bad DVDs, I initially thought that it was like kind of like this, like, you know, it's just a DVD in the sleeve. That's what I thought. And then when I was trying to find season 3, I saw the mini DVDs, as I like to call them, where it's like 2 DVD sleeves in one sleeve. That's what I was thinking for the longest time. But then no, I thought that was like, oh, maybe there's another version out there. Then I look at my season 1 DVD, it's like, oh, it's the same. So I got really stupid there, and so I binge bought the rest of them eventually at good prices. And then Better Call Saul is one of those. It's still on the air, so it's still pretty hefty price. Season 4, I think, is still like $25, even after removed. I will again finish this, and El Camino is going to be like that one black sheep of the DVD series, because like they only have it on Blu-ray. There is a DVD out there, but it's in another region, so I'm like, damn it, really bummed on that, really bummed. Over here we have probably the most hyped series in terms of like, I think this was like the first show, like everyone, like when Twitter was like beginning to be a thing, and then this show came out, it's like everyone was just calling like, what's going to happen next? What is the big, you know, twist? And then as it starts going on, like Lost became one of the most, I'm actually interested about this to then, I really want this show to be over type of ordeals, because it was one of those, the curiosity factor when it comes to me binging any show is you get season 1 of Lost, it's amazing, and you know, even 25 episodes, like they made 25 hours worth it. Then you progress through it where it's like, I think up to season 3 or season 4, you still keep that consistency factor going of like, there's a great story there, it's an Emmy award winning show there. Then you get to season 5 and it's like, okay, you're really starting to push here. Then you get to season 6, it's like, okay, you lost all faith in me, you really did. Because to be honest with you, going into season 6, because I binged season 1 through 5, and then I took so long to get to season 6 because I used to just watch these on the DVDs. Then I got Hulu. Then I'm like, screw it. I'm ending it. I want to see how this ends. And I saw season 6 and I just did not like it at all. I really did not. And that was one of the bummer things about me, because like, you know, you had such a great story and you lose the magic of it. And I had a conversation about this with George. It's like they started the show with an amazing premise. They just didn't know how to land the plane, and they did it. And I know there's conversation about rebooting it or reviving it. I'm like, please don't, because all you're going to do is give me a damn mess. But I will say this, Terry O'Quinn as John Locke is probably one of the best castings in human history, and I have plans for him. If you're listening to this, Terry O'Quinn, I will find you. And lastly, in this section, because I just didn't have really another spot for it, I have The Gift of season 1. It was one of those like Fox, Fox trying to get into TV with the X-Men world. It didn't really pan out. It did 2 seasons, and it's another one of those. The creators had like massive plans for season 3, and it's like it's always the 3rd season. Like, we have such great things, but they canceled it. It's like it's ironic, and you didn't do it sooner in season 2. It's just coincidental. Same with thing like Krypton season 3. It's just so ironic. To me, at least. Alright, next up we have the HBO section, as I like to call it. We have Game of Thrones, Westworld, and Perry Mason Watchmen 2. I was thinking if I should put Watchmen in the DC section, since technically it is DC. Heck, you even see the logo there. It is. But I was debating, like, no. I think it was more like along the lines of, like, I've never seen Watchmen, both the 2009 movie or the 2019 TV show. I haven't yet. I know it's amazing. I heard so many great things about it. I just haven't had time to go and actually sit down and watch it, but regardless of that, I was really debating on that. But overall, Game of Thrones, I'm very much of the side of, like, this was way too overhyped for me. I just never got into Game of Thrones as many people would expect me to be. I just wasn't. And to be honest with you, when I was going into it, I was like, okay, I'm ready to be blown away. I'm ready to binge the entire show in one sitting. It took me over a year to watch it because it was very... It just didn't interest me, and be honest with you. Same with Westworld. Like, Westworld, George told me about it to death when it first came out. And yeah, season 1 was, I think, the best season of the 3 so far. Season 2 was kind of meh at best. And season 3 was good at best. But then it just, like any show, like, you have to finish strong as well as you begin. And then Perry Mason, you can go watch our every episode reviewed on Action X's What's on the Tube series. And Watchmen, one day I'll watch it. Someday. Over here we have the Big Bang universe. That's right, all the Big Bang seasons, including Young Sheldon's, are here. This is it. So, I haven't made this known yet here, but Big Bang Theory was by far the most addictive show I've ever had in my life, where the show, I bought the box set, which is why you see the outline, and I binged all 5, literally not that far ahead, and it was by far... I think the fastest I binged 5 seasons of a comedy, I think that took me 2-3 weeks to binge, and then I immediately bought 6, 7, and 8, and 9, no, around that, the go around, because those were cheap too, and they were available. Then season 10, I want to say, was a little bit more pricey, but it was still on the notion of, like, I need to continue, I need to watch the next season. And then as soon as season 11 came out, I was like, I was ready, I'm ready to go. I spent $35 on this shit, but then I was like, okay, I'm caught up, I'm ready to watch live with everyone else. Then the final season was announced to be the final season, I was like, damn it, I was so close. But it was a fun binge, but I don't remember much from that show, so that kind of just is a testimony to how my brain is during binges, and also how, for me, mostly, I can't really remember much of the show, so take that as you will. Young Sheldon, I do enjoy. Is Young Sheldon does it match Big Bang Theory? It doesn't, but it's doing its own thing. Like, it's not a Big Bang ripoff. It's not that at all. It actually has some depth to it. It actually has its own personality to it, where they could have easily just done it. It's the Big Bang show with a younger Sheldon. It literally could have been, but no, they did something different, and I'm happy it's going to go up to season 7 now. They confirmed it already, and I'm kind of hoping that it does. Like, I have space for about 3 more seasons, maybe 4, so I think season 7, season 8 would be, I mean, at least for me, would be the perfect way to, like, that's it, this is an entire closed section. Hopefully we won't get any more spin-offs, but that's my hopefulness of the endeavor. And over here, which would be my other comedy shows, all I have is a bunch of VHS tapes, and the entirety of Parks and Recs on DVD in the very nice collector's box. Maybe I'll do a video about that someday. It's a very nice box, I'll give it that. I found it at Target. It was, I think, on sale. I think, like, I spent, like, what, less than $10 per season, which is, like, perfect. Again, I dropped all of it, but you're about to see in a moment. I have dropped something even worse than that, so you're about to see in a bit. But I like Parks and Rec. Same with The Office. It was kind of like a unique humor style that I kind of got into, and then I binged it a couple more times since then, and it still holds up pretty well. And I did watch the pandemic special they produced a couple years ago, which I'm like, it was nice. Plus, Ron Swanson is forever my meat lover animal. He very much is. Next we have the planned in construction Tim Allen section, which includes right now Home Improvement, the first season, and Last Man Standing, the first season. A little story about the Home Improvement one. I distinctly remember when Toys R Us was sadly shutting down, I think my location was probably one of the biggest ones in Queens. And I went on the last months, and they were doing, obviously, you know, they were doing big sales, trying to get rid of all their merchandise as much as they can since it was the end of the company. And so when I went there, I found this. And I kid you not, I want to do a proper video about this someday. And inside was, this was the original release. This was the original printing, per se. So when I opened it up and I found a lot of the original paperbacks and the original flyers that came in there, I'm like, oh my god, this is something. And also was unique because this is a very different way to open it. You can see a little bit right now. You open it from the top. It isn't like a traditional, it looks like a toolbox, which is cool, which sadly they did not get to do for the remaining seasons because, again, since this was an original printing of the DVD, since I don't think DVDs were a thing back in the 90s, I don't think of, so I'm pretty sure this was just another cool idea they had, and then I guess when it was successful, they just said, okay, you know what, we're just going to print out as many as we could, so that's what they did. I do have plans to get all the Last Man Standing seasons eventually at some point. I'm not sure, it's just a matter of, you know, sales and, you know, just waiting, and Tim Allen's still pretty hot right now, so I don't imagine that going away anytime soon. And over here we have the gigantic collection that is Friends. Now, I mean, like, she's one of my new recent friends in the past few years, so we bonded a lot of things, and one of the things that she loves is Friends. So whenever, one of the only days I took her to shopping in my usual hunting grounds to buy good condition DVDs for, I think I want to say maybe, I'm going to say like a quarter of the price you would buy mostly retail stuff nowadays. This would be it, and I found all 10 seasons in probably some of the best condition material I have ever seen. There's some smugs, there's obviously these came out in the very early 2000s, so I'm not imagining, but some of them were factory sealed, I kid you not. So I was like, dope. And I think for the whole series, I spent roughly around maybe $20 for 10 seasons of probably one of the greatest comedies of all time. Now keep in mind, it's not one of my favorite shows, but for the world it is. And you know, she very much pushed me. Like, there was an entire Snapchat video I did where I literally pointed like it out, like my freaking addiction of buying these DVDs, and it's crazy. Now what's sad to say is that yes, I'm aware Joey is a show, and sad to say, there's only a slot for one more DVD in this section, so I'm like debating, like, should I get it just to finish it off, but how big are they? If they were like the tiny, like, current size versions of them, then this would be different. Over here we have Alf. Alf is one of those, like, this section is like a treasure trove of memories for me. I'm gonna start with Alf here, because growing up, my dad told me he loved Alf. Because Alf came out when he was in his 30s. He just moved to New York, so, you know, there wasn't really much for him to do. He worked very abnormal hours, and one of the things he could always tune into was a brand new episode of Alf. And eventually, once they started coming out on DVD, and he bought me the 3rd and 4th seasons, when we found that, I watched the show, and I loved it so freaking much. It's like something that, it's one of the few things me and my dad actually share in common when it comes to our taste in television. I loved it so much, and then eventually we saw the movie together, which he never got to see since he didn't know anything about it. He didn't have me back then, I'm pretty sure, if I was a fan. And when, hey, Alf's coming to the big screen, well, not to the big screen, more like he's getting a movie. I think that would have been different, but regardless, it was still, it was a memory of time. I still want to get the first 2 seasons. The problem is I want to try and keep this blacktop overlay that they did, but, you know, we'll see how that goes in the future. And over here we have, this is the very first TV show I've ever collected. The very first one. I kid you not. I remember distinctly. I don't know how it started, I don't know which one it is, and it has gone through a lot of wear and tear. I've lost the original sleeves for all of them, and, you know, I've debated once in a blue moon, it's like, should I just say fuck it and then go and buy them? Like, I kid you not, I was debating for the longest time, and it's a replica of the house, and it looks cool, but the more I think about this, they're all still in decent condition. Some of them smell like ginger chicken, but at the end of the day, this is mine. This was the very first one. And I think it's something that I might buy another version just for the sake of having a pristine version, but this was the first show I ever collected, so I don't think they'll ever go, and this is the first time they had for me, a very cool mini DV style where they printed it out on the paperback on what episodes they were instead of doing a guide. That was cool. They didn't have to do that, and they did this for the entire seasons 3 and 4. and that was cool. That was really cool at all. And then we have here, of course, Fuller House, which I done an entire unboxing for back on the Action X channel. Still very bummed they didn't continue the 5 to have the blue and the yellow, but I guess they just wanted to like come full circle, which again would have been resolved much quicker if you just done a 6th season. I mean, a lot of the cast members say, let's just do a 6th season, because season 5 didn't really feel like an ending. It felt more of a, we're coming to the end, but they didn't. And sad to say, with, you know, Bob Saget's recent passing and just the nature of how Netflix is doing things, I don't think that's something that's going to be happening anytime soon. But regardless, to say, you know, I never even imagined we would get a sequel series, let alone they come out on DVD from Netflix. So I'm very happy about that. I'm very happy. Now we look into my favorite, the best show ever made, How I Met Your Mother. I honestly love this show so much. I was debating for a very long time on how they collect the DVDs, when should I collect the DVDs, and I started. It's been a very long hassle. I haven't gotten the last 2 seasons yet because, let's just say, well, not financial difficulty, more like difficulties in adaptation. But of course, again, I'm very argumentally that the first 3 seasons have sleeves and then the later seasons do not. I'm not bummed, but I'm like, I could easily remedy the problem by getting rid of the sleeves for the first 3, but I'm like, why do you do this to me? And over here we have Modern Family. It will be completed someday. Funny story about that. My father actually gave me the first DVD when he found it during a shift at his job. And I never really cared for Modern Family. It was more along the lines of, you know, it's another one of like the Big Bang Theory. Like, I'm just curious why this show goes on the air for so long. And then I finally watched it. I was like, you know, honestly, that was really good. I binged the entire 11 seasons on Hulu earlier last year, and it was really good. I really did. I can't wait to get them all someday. It's one of those, it's still recent, so some of the more recent DVDs are still kind of expensive, so it could be a while, but one day, someday. Who knows? And now over here we have the Power Rangers section. Apologies for the weird camera shift. It's because I went from kneeling to sitting down because I'm not going to bend all the way forward. So with Power Rangers, it was another one of those. I have the VHS tapes. I don't think I have them displayed in the middle rack. I do not. But what I do remember is when I did get to the DVDs, because that was around the time that Shout Factory picked up the license for them. So they started doing these collection sets. So you had the original Mighty Morphin set, then you had, I believe, season 6 through 10. They went to every 5 seasons, and then until RPMs, when their contract ran up, and then Lionsgate took over Samurai onwards. Still a piece of crap move was that they did Super Samurai first as a whole complete season with the original, with a giant ass fat box, and then they released the Samurai one afterwards in a thin copy, but they never bothered to re-release this. I have no idea who has the license now. After Super Ninja Steel came out, that's when Hasbro took over, and it's still kind of unclear what the plan is for Beast Morphers onwards. Beast Morphers has been done for a while. Dino Fury is still the current on-air show. And it's also transitioning to a Netflix exclusive. So I really don't know what the plan is. If they're going to do like, I'll talk about this in a section below in a bit. But I'm just curious to see what the plan is, since, you know, a lot of hardcore fans have already collected everything up to Ninja Steel, and it would really suck if they would actually cancel the whole thing just because of, well, you know, times have changed, and hopefully someday we will get that, but we'll see. Also, to explain the combo set factor before this falls over, this is how I bought the Samurai seasons. That it came in this sleeve, which combined both seasons, but instead of having them both equal in length, they just, you know, kept the original printing on the Super Samurai one. So I was still peeved on that. And over here we have the Power Rangers movies, the Mighty Morphin movie that came out theatrically, and the Power Rangers 2017 reboot. I do not have Turbo yet because I don't know. I really don't know why I don't have Turbo yet. Someday. Also, another nitpick about the Power Rangers section is, well, again, this is the stupidity factor of me. I wanted to get everything that the individual release, but I fucked up and I got the season 17, which was, this was the version you can find on the combo sets, but then when you get them individually, it's supposed to say the complete series. So I screwed up there. That's my fault. So next up, moving onwards, we have the, well, it's kind of like the animation section. We're starting to get to animation now. Power Rangers kind of seemed like the good in-between factor of it. Family Guy, I'm going to be honest with you, Volume 4, this is original printing. Was the very first DVD that I ever bought. It was the very first one. I was very happy. to pay for it with my own money. And also what I mean by that, it's like it was just allowance and birthday money that that I have saved up, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to spend it on a $25 DVD of Family Guy, and I never bothered to collect the rest again. Maybe someday I'll change my mind, but you know, it's part of history. I do have the Family Guy Star Wars trilogy parody set, Blue Harvest, Something Dark Side, It's a Trap. I like him. I wasn't a big fan of the last one, because honestly they made the joke of like, yeah, we just rushed it out just so that, you know, we could just be done with it, and it was kind of like the same thing. Well, it's a funny thing. Rick and Morty, great deal. I found at $10 when I was on vacation in Texas. My friend at the time, even though he loved Rick and Morty, he's like, yeah, you could have spent your money on something else. I'm like, I could have, I should have, I didn't. Spider-Man is another one of those like things where like I wish I would have collected more Spider-Man DVDs, but it's just so inconsistent with them. So these 4 I bought, well, I didn't buy, I got back in the day. And these 4, sadly, because it was a 13 episode season, there was one episode I never got to see because MTV had the rights to this show, and so obviously, of course, I think it was Lionsgate handled the official DVD release, but since they did those, I think it was 3 episodes. I mean, I have it right here. I could just check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it was 3 episodes per section, and so when I was checking them, I'm like, oh great. So I'm missing one. There's one episode of this show I never saw. And because like they didn't do them in orders. It's like, so the High Voltage Action episode, which was I think volume 1. By the way, these covers were like, I don't know, back in the day as a kid, I thought these were cool. Like, oh wow, what a unique animation style. And I was like, that's cool, but you know, that's the problem of everything is like, there's an episode I missed. I never watched it. Also, this was one of the OG DVDs, and I'm like, this wasn't even like, I don't think this is an official licensed copy, to be honest with you, because this just feels very dated. I think I want to say it was just one of the experimental DVD releases back then. They combined 3 of the Blade episodes from the original 90s show, and they just sticked it on a DVD. It had no real storyline. Well, it had a storyline, but it wasn't really, you know what I mean. Over here, Ed and Eddie, same thing. Kids stuff, Teen Titans Kids stuff. Gravity Falls, the complete series. I'm very happy I got this. I did not get the official launch set, which I think came with some more cool goodies. I just got the DVD plain. But I love the show. It's very, I think I did a What's on the Tube about it on the other channel, and I loved it so much. I would gladly revisit this someday in the future. The Cartoon Network movies, the more recent ones. The only reason why I got these is that they did a cool thing kind of similar to what Marvel did, is that they have the Cartoon Network logos on them, like CN and CN with that. For me, I thought it was pretty cool. I know they had other movies that came out, but I'm like, okay, Steven Universe, the movie, someday I'll get the whole show. We Bare Bears, I love that shit so much. I really did. Then we're getting into the anime section. That's right, the anime section. Here we have the Dragon Ball modern film series. We have Battle of Gods, Resurrection Ed, Broly. Funny story about Broly. I purchased Broly, I think I was coming back from my first solo vacation ever. And I had to take the 7 train because I live in New York City. And there was a DVD shop there before COVID hit. And they had like, they get some niche DVDs at times at a pretty decent price. When I was picking it up, I completely forgot to ask them if I can buy the sleeve, because I bought it and I was like, oh damn, I forgot the sleeve, because like, you know, they had it. And I asked them like, hey, can I get the sleeve? And they were like, you just want the sleeve? I'm like, yeah, I'll pay you like $5 for it. I was actually willing to get the sleeve just to have the consistency factor to it. And they're like, no, just take it for free. Like, and someone else will probably just not want it with a sleeve, so we probably would have put it into the garbage. So I'm like, cool. I was happy about that. Here we have Yu-Gi-Oh! It took me a long while, and I apologize. Oh, there we go. Fixed it. So I have Yu-Gi-Oh! The first movie, the very first movie. I was like, this was so cool, because like Pokemon always got the movies. Now Yu-Gi-Oh! Got a movie. I was like, hell yeah. Even the tagline was, everything else was just practice. That was so cool when it came out. To have like an anime like actually hit the big screen. It didn't do so well, since obviously they didn't yearly release it like they did with Pokemon. So that kind of sucked. Bonds Beyond Time was the first one I got to see with one of my best friends, Alan, in theaters. Dark Side Dimension was kind of like, it was joining the craze of like modern anime movies where the creator was actually being involved in the productions, just so they have like a consistency, like, this is legit, this is an actual canon movie. And this movie was pretty cool. I really hope they would have made more, but because of the whole animation burnout with this and the couple series that came afterwards for the regular show, I'm pretty sure they kind of won't make another sequel anytime soon, or at least maybe in my lifetime. Here we have the Capsule Monster movies. Well, not really, they were like kind of like a side series of the anime, and I got two because I thought, because the way they did this, like they had two, I was like, oh, this is the second Yu-Gi-Oh movie. And then it was like, oh no, it was part of a shorter anime series that I never found part one for. I just got the first DVD here because I just wanted to complete it, just to complete that full circle event. My Hero Academia 2 Heroes, the movie. As you saw earlier, I have the Steelbook now. And also, I am very bummed that Heroes Rising did not get a DVD release officially from Funimation, which I do understand. It is a dying breed, and they just want to get the options out there. But now, times have changed, so it sucks for me, but it doesn't suck for a lot of people. But I'll get Heroes Rising someday on Steelbook. One Punch Man's over there. I'll get season 2 at some point. Avatar, the complete series. I really don't have anything to say about that because I promised my friends I will watch it someday. I have the DVDs now. But I was like, it hasn't happened yet. I've been kind of busy, so. But I promise someday I will. And last but not least, we have the entire, well, the Pokemon section. This entire section will one day be filled with every single Pokemon season complete. Right now, it is a mishmash of the current modern run of things and also the older style. If you're unaware, Viz Media handles all the Pokemon stuff going forward for Pokemon home media, whether that was with Cartoon Network or with Disney for a brief bit. Now on Netflix, they just handled the home media release. And so the cool thing they've been doing is this, so you can clearly see the separation difference is that this was the original way BK, the actual production company that was making the DVDs. So they would do these giant ass box sets, and they would put like maybe, because this was when Pokemon like produced almost 200 episodes per series, so they had a lot to work with. And then eventually you got into like they single fighted with I think Sinnoh victors going onwards. And then especially with Black and White, and that was what I honestly thought back in there. This was going to be the style going forward, and I'm honestly bummed because I made my father at the time when I was becoming like an actual teenager. You know, it's kind of like supposed to be moving out of this sort of stuff, but I never did. I kind of felt bad because whenever I found these default single issues, it would always be that I would, oh yeah, I'm at Toys R Us, I found this for like $20, and I would always guilt trip him to come over here so he can buy it for me. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I felt like a kid, but I'm like, you know what, it's just memory. Someday, sadly, these will be thrown away or maybe donated. I don't know what to do with these yet, because the thing about the Pokemon series, and it's also everything with any sort of anime collection, they're very expensive. Like, every one of these DVDs at launch was like about $45, which is like more than $2 per episode. And keep in mind, they're including the entire collection in one go-around, so you don't have to buy the sets anymore, or at least the mini sets, as I like to call it. But it's just one of those factors of they're expensive and you rarely find them on sale, so that's why it's going to take a very long while for me to get all of them. Like, I will get them all, no pun intended, eventually, but right now there isn't a chance on them. I know right now they're up to Rival Destinies in the re-releases. I know they're doing the Sun and Moon thing again, where like they're going back to this method for the new seasons, so they get the double dip. Say, oh, we're not going to get to those seasons for maybe a couple more years, but if you want them now, we have them in the individual sets. But I'm like, brah. Like, you're killing me here. You're killing me. I bet you they're going to get caught up. Eventually, they're probably just going to do, like, oh, we're going to do the Blu-ray versions there, and then the 4K versions there. Like, I think that's how you're going to do it, because Pokemon's never going to die. I mean, even 2 new games came out in the last few months, so it's crazy. And over here, lastly, to kind of wrap this all up in a close, here we have the Pokemon movie section, which is so close to completion. You have, so here's a funny thing, you're gonna look up here for a second. Up there on the top 6, I have the original 6 movies on VHS, and then starting with the 7th movie, I went straight to DVD. And I think that was around the same time that they just stopped doing the VHS version, so you need to buy the DVD for them. Yeah, it's another one of those things. I really respect the fact they got them all, and I have up until the Mewtwo remake on the CGI remake. They haven't released the new one that just came out on Netflix. They haven't made an official release for that yet. So what I'm missing right now is 1 to 3 on DVD, and then 5 and 6, and then the new one, and then I'll be completely caught up. And my Stature is, I'm cheap when it comes to collecting the old ones, but when the new ones come out, I'm like, I'm just so dedicated to having them all that I will buy at full price if need be, so someday. But right now, I'm just very happy that, you know, at least from a movie side point, it's almost done. It's just a few more left, but I want the original printings. Like, I know they re-released the original 3 on a standard, like, 1, 2, 3 set. I don't like that shit at all. I'll get the official original printing somehow, and once I do have them all, I'll be very happy. But that'll be some point down the line. Well, there you have it. 667 DVDs in a little bit more than an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed. And this was only just what I obtained in almost 20 years of DVD collecting. So I cannot personally wait to see where things are going to go in another 20 years. Hashtag let's get to 2000. Let's go do that. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not yet for way more content in the world of collectibles. Stay tuned for the next video. And until then, peace out.